the clock on the wall, and my watch says that it is 7, so I'd like to go ahead and call to order the regular city council meeting of Monday, September 11th, 2023. We can all stand for the pledge of allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Holly, will you call the roll, please?
Lanyon.
Present.
Pratt.
Here.
Jenkins.
Here.
Van Allsburg.
Here.
Rhines.
Here.
Gilroy.
Here.
Hanson.
Here.
All right, I am looking for approval of the agenda this evening unless there are any changes that need to be made.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as submitted.
Thank you so much. Do I have support?
Support.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say, all right, that motion carries. Now we have an opportunity for audience participation with a maximum of 5 minutes per presentation. If there's anyone in the audience that would like to come forward to the podium, state your name and your address. Anyone? All right, moving along then.
Well, I do.
Okay, can you come
That was quick.
forward?
Yep, sure.
Yep, state your name
I
and
don't
your
know.
address.
Sure. My name's Lina Chapman. My address is 2659 Donna Drive. I'm actually just here to voice support for the road diet plan you guys have on the agenda. I just saw that on there, and I saw the presentation that was done here a few weeks back, just prior to the Jubilee, and I just think it sounds like a really great idea to, you know, improve the intersection, add bike lanes. Because I live down the way, I'm not actually a Williamston resident, but my kids would very much love to be able to ride their bikes into town. Adding the bike lanes would be awesome. The turn lane would improve traffic flow for us parents trying to get to and from school every morning and every afternoon. There's just so many reasons why it's a good idea. I can see no bad reason to do the road diet. So that's really why I'm here, and I just wanted to be here in support of that. So thank you.
Thank you. Thanks so much. Appreciate it. All right. Name and address.
Kitty Rothwell, 221 East Riverside, and I too am in support of the road diet. I am an MDOT retiree, and I had many projects when I was working down in the southwest part of the state with the road diets, and the results between what they had before, traffic flowed better, it was much safer, the crashes were reduced, and it's something that should have been done a long time ago here.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right. Anyone else? All right. Moving along then. We have our council meeting minutes of August 28th, 2023. I'm looking for approval unless there are changes that need to be noted.
So moved.
Thank you so much. Do I have support?
Second.
All right. Thank you both. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Motion carries. Brandon, you had an opportunity for accounts payable.
I did. List was short, but it was a large number, mostly due to the tax transfers that we do regularly, so nothing out of the ordinary. I will then make a motion to approve checks 76966 through 76989 and ACH 518 through 527 for a grand total of $331,723.33.
Great. Thank you so much, Brandon. Does anyone have any questions? Yes, Steve.
The $11,000 for the salt barn repair,
Yep. Go ahead, Scott.
That is actually a pass-through. It was a issue with a design, and the engineering company has worked with our TIFA, because that's on a TIFA property, and they supplied the money for the project up front, and it was bid, and we're doing the project, and that's the first installment of the payment. So actually the work is completed, and it looks very, very good. I think it's a good return.
and that's the issue you brought to us back in the spring.
Yes.
Yep.
That's right.
Excellent. Good question. Thanks, Steve. Any other questions regarding accounts payable, or do I have support for the motion on the floor?
Support.
Thank you so much. Holly, will you call the roll, please?
Van Allsburg.
Yes.
Rhines.
Yes.
Gilroy.
Yes.
Lanyon.
Yes.
Hanson.
Yes.
Pratt.
Yes.
Jenkins.
Yes.
All right, thank you so much. Moving on to our action items, we have 3. The first is to appoint Lori DeRocha to the Downtown Development Authority for a term to expire 6/30 of 2025.
So moved.
Thank you so much. Do I have support?
Support.
Thank you. If there's no questions or discussion regarding this application, Holly, will you call the roll, please?
Rhines,
Yes.
Gilroy,
Yes.
Lanyon,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Pratt,
Yes.
Jenkins,
Yes.
Van Allsburg,
Yes.
All right. Next is our police chief appointment and contract, and we have a memo in our packet from our city manager, John Hannafin. I will turn that over to him.
Thank you. Very pleased to present Mr. Jeffrey Weiss as hopefully our new chief of police here in 30 seconds. I'll talk briefly. He presented himself a clear leader amongst a very, very strong field. There was current police chief in another community and a retiree deputy chief and then another command officer in a pretty large department. But Mr. Weiss had outstanding answers to the interviews. Really, one of the fundamental questions of the interview was, with the crisis that every community is going through right now with police retention and recruitment, how would you approach that? And his answers were strategic, they were specific to Williamston, and they were actionable if he was offered the job. So that was one of the many highlights. He's got a long law enforcement career, also a real strength as an emergency manager, which as we know, can be very, very, very handy in certain times. And he also has been a small town police chief, and he's been in the room where he's had to look around and there's nobody there but him, and he's the one who has to have the answer. So again, happy to answer any questions you may have, but very pleased to present Mr. Weiss to you this evening.
Great, excellent. Council, yes, Terry.
Can we hear some specifics on the retention thing? That's a significant thing, and this guy's the key to it, so from you or from him or from whoever wants to answer that.
Sure, I think Mr. Weiss here, I think that he can certainly regale you,
can.
like he did.
Welcome, and thanks
yeah.
for wearing a suit to
Yeah,
stay.
thank you. So the recruit and retention, there's kind of a multi-pronged philosophy. One is the reserve program that we have at the Williamston Police Department. I think that's an excellent recruitment stage for our new officers. Whether it's to go to sponsor them through an academy, we get to see who they are and quite frankly how they act. Number two is get the people when they're young. And when I say that, I'm referring to the Career Center, Wilson Talent Center has a program, a law enforcement program. So I am acquaintances with the director of that program, and attending that program, getting to see those students, give them exposure to the Williamston Police Department, and quite frankly, putting your eyes on the students at the Talent Center and try and do some recruitment activities there. And then also the Police Academy. I was a previous instructor at the Mid-Michigan Police Academy for several facets of traffic accident investigation. And I'm also acquaintances with the director of the Police Academy. So going into the Police Academy, they generally allow area police chiefs to come in for a day, meet the recruits, and quite frankly, try and recruit them as officers. So, and on top of all that, just going to football games, basketball games, and meeting our young folks and high school kids, that's important because they start melding them young and trying to recruit them, quite frankly.
Yeah.
So, Jeff, do you have any retirees that may be interested in coming back on a part-time basis?
I actually do.
Excellent.
I've created relationships with, I retired from the Sheriff's Office in Ingham County in 2019. I've been at Shiawassee County as emergency manager and then for the Village of Lennon Police Department. So I've created relationships with area chiefs, area officers, and especially with area people that are retiring at this time. So we actually have two in the works that could join us. So having a large network of people that you know is a big help.
Excellent. Yes, go ahead, Brendan.
So Terry took the first question. A, nice to see you again.
Nice to see you.
B, so you took the first one, but the second one is, what is your philosophy when it comes to enforcement in the town? Are you a ticket guy? Are you an education guy? What is your philosophy on management of the town?
Good question. I'm a big believer in education. I think that there's a place and time for tickets for certain offenses, but there's also a time for education. The new texting phone use law that came out, that needs to have education component to it until people, quite frankly, get used to it.
Yeah.
So I'm a big believer in education, and with today's social media, there's no reason that we can't do that and get that education out there. So, no, I'm not a big ticket guy, but there's a place for that.
Yep, excellent. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, Dad, you look like you want to say something, no? All right, anyone else? All right, well, I want to just say welcome.
Thank you.
We look forward to having you as our next police chief in approximately.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
You know, well, you know, it's my birthday, I can say that, right? But, thank you so much for being here this evening, and I guess we're just gonna roll that forward, and anything else you want to add, John?
I do not.
All right, Dan, would you like to make the motion?
I'll make a motion to approve a resolution to confirm city manager's appointment of Jeffrey Wise as chief of police and to approve a contract for employment services.
Do I have support?
Second.
Thank you. Any other discussion? All right, Holly, will you call the roll, please?
Gilroy,
Yes.
Lanyon,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Pratt,
Yes.
Jenkins,
Yes.
Van Allsburg,
Yes.
Rhines.
Yes.
Now I can officially say congratulations.
Thank you, I appreciate it. And this is my wife Lori, by the way.
Welcome to, this world here. All right,
And
thanks.
thank you for lending him to us.
Yes, exactly. All right, our last action item is liability and property pool insurance renewal. And we have a memo in our packet. I'll turn this over to our city manager, John Hanfen.
Thank you. This is something that we do annually, about this time of year, because the expiration, the policy is from October till September. We do have a slight, just a slight decrease of about $1,400 in the overall renewal rate. This really is it's our liability and property pool insurance, which really covers just about everything, all of our buildings, vehicles, and then obviously you can read through the coverage limitations at your leisure. There's really, there's three main ways communities seek liability insurance, and one is through the Michigan Municipal League. The other is the Michigan Municipal Risk Management Agency, which is MMRMA. Nailed that on the first try. And they're equally good. MML is the largest pool of communities and frankly has the best coverage and the best rates. The third option would be to go through a private insurer. And I don't have any specific experience with that. I'm sure there's some communities who do that, but typically it's because they are no longer insurable by the other two. So again, there is a slight policy decrease, which is good. You can read the explanation for part of that. We may be looking at a slight increase next year when we are up to full staffing with our police department. So.
Okay, excellent. All right, and thank you for detailing that out with the reason for that decrease. I appreciate it. Any questions, or who would like to make the motion?
We have 24 vehicles?
Mhm.
I was surprised by that. That's, okay, I just wondering.
That includes the police fleet, plow trucks,
Yeah,
the
DPW,
Vector truck,
Vector truck. Yeah.
all the different vehicles the city owns. So if you count up
The
the,
reserve vehicles.
Yeah.
I don't know if the big loader would be included in that, or also equipment's included in that as well.
Okay,
Takes a lot to run this little
I guess
city,
it does, I guess
doesn't
it
it?
does. 4,000 people,
I don't think
24
we'll have that
vehicles.
many in their backyard.
I'm not talking about you, Tom.
Yeah, exactly.
We sold the shop, Tom.
So we clearly have the world record snowplow service here.
Yeah.
So I came here in the late 80s, I was working in Lansing, and I couldn't believe how efficient, I was like amazed, how efficient we are here with snowplowing. We're really good.
Yeah,
So however many vehicles I have, that's fine with me.
right, exactly. Well, we don't like to say the word fast word. Not quite yet
Yeah,
in the
it's
season.
too early.
All right.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's okay.
Just curious.
All right, who would like to
I
make
would
that
move
motion?
to approve the insurance proposal from the Michigan Municipal League liability and property pool for the policy term October 1st, 2023 through 9/30/2024 in the amount of $75,205.
Thank you, Steve. Do I have support?
Support.
Thank you, Tom. Holly, will you call the roll, please?
Lanyon,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Pratt,
Yes.
Jenkins,
Yes?
Van Allsburg,
Yes.
Rhines,
Yes.
Gilroy.
Yes. All right, that concludes our action items for this evening. Moving along to our discussion items. And thank you again so much for voicing your support of this road diet. I'll go to our city manager, John Hannavan. Do we have any updates?
Yeah, I think our city
Scott?
engineer is, well, he's gonna take the next two items because he's got good news to report for both.
Excellent. We're ready, Scott.
All right, well, there was a meeting on September 5th of CARTS, which is the organization of all the different communities in the Tri-County area on road funding and so forth, and it was approved at that meeting for our project to be included in the 2024 TIP, which means that we are eligible to get federal funding. It has to go through a couple more steps in the process, but this is the biggest hurdle in all of that. And that is $158,400 of federal grant money towards the project.
Nice.
And that would be a local share of $39,600. So that's a pretty nice thing forward towards the project. The next hurdle is the Board of Commissioners at the September 27th meeting. But I mean, the big hurdle is the one that we've just gone through. So. And I do believe that the city also received a letter in support of the project as well.
Excellent, great.
So that's the update on the road diet.
Perfect.
You need to roll into
Yes,
next thing?
absolutely,
All
keep
right.
going.
North Putnam Street, very significant thing happened today. There's some pavement that happened at the intersection of East Riverside. So it is still a construction zone. The signs are still going to stay up for detouring and things like that. People, if they go through that area, must be very careful and so forth because it's still an active construction zone. But there's pavement around the corner.
Nice.
Okay? The, another little thing, it's not on the agenda, but the south entry sign, been working with MDOT and getting some approval potentially down by the highway entrance. And they're working on something, we've gotten some information from them and they're checking some distances. So there's possibly some good news that we can look forward to on that front. One last thing, we did get bids for the lift station projects, and we got one bid. It was extremely high. So John and I have been looking at that, and probably need to come up with a different thought process on the lift stations.
Scott, how do you feel that the Putnam Street project is going in general? Are they staying on schedule? Have they had any setbacks?
Every setback that's been out there, our contractor has overcome.
Excellent. Great.
They're staying, I mean, you anticipate certain issues to happen during the project. You don't always know what they're going to be, and those are the, I mean, we've handled it, so.
Do you think our biggest obstacle is probably weather related, rain?
At this point, yeah, and in fact, they're not planning, because of the weather tonight and stuff, they're not planning on a lot of activity tomorrow. They did run into some snags today with trucking and some breakdowns, and where they're taking the spoil material, trucks are getting stuck like 4 times today. So they actually, and lo and behold, another location came out of the woodwork today, and so they're looking at establishing that one, so that when they start back up on Wednesday, that they have a different location for that to go.
Excellent. Yes, John?
I'm sure, now, I hope everybody shares this viewpoint, but we've got overwhelmingly positive feedback
Yes, we have.
about the construction crews.
Yes.
And their ability to be flexible, and even with some rain coming up, I mean, you know, I've done this for, like, telling you guys, I've done it forever, but it seems like forever sometimes, but, what they work through the rain, and that's, a lot of companies don't do that, and so they stay busy, so they really minimize any kind of like lost time for weather, so.
Excellent.
So we're moving really forward really well.
So I'm gonna save it for my member comments, but we're on the topic. So I will say that this construction crew is phenomenal. They have been doing a great job. They're very considerate. You know, to the point where we were walking Harvey to school today, and then we went to one of the free libraries and came back, and they ran out to stop one of their construction crews so we could cross the street with our you know, little stroller to get Isla across. They open up the roads as often as they can to make us go through. Even if they have construction, they'll tell you to wait and they'll push you through, so you don't have to do the whole 20 minutes. I mean, I can't say they're doing a phenomenal job. So I'm very happy with the way that they're doing it. And if they do this on every job, I'd love to have them on every job we do, because they're doing great work and they're very great people.
There are times where they just have to tell people no.
Yeah,
Right.
no, and they're, even when they do, I mean, we came back one day, and not to disparage NISA per se, but we came back from down south on Williamston, and the NISA officer screamed at my wife because we wanted to go straight to get into our house, and he said no, so we had to take a 30-minute detour around, even though we could have made it. We came to the construction site, and we're trying to go through, and he's like, I'm really sorry, I know we let you through earlier, but like, you gotta turn around, you have to go the long way. Like, there's a way to handle things, and the construction crew has always been 100% on there. I mean, they were very considerate and very nice. They could have been jerks, they were doing their jobs, but
Sure.
they did a great job.
Well, and I can honestly say too, the social media comments and presence for the Putnam Street, I'd have to say it's, like 95% positive, about 5% negative. And so that I think is phenomenal. I've had people personally send me notes, I passed them on to John, and it's been taken care of and handled.
Yep.
I don't feel like there's been any real big hurdles that we have not been able to cross. Dan?
What it seemed like to me was in the ramp up to the construction, we had a lot of people that were expressing a lot of concerns, and now we're headed into our first full 5-day school week. I've been in session for maybe a month, but it's been
Right.
mostly short week. And we haven't, it's been very quiet.
Yep.
So I think it's working as well.
Yep.
The schools, city staff,
Mhm.
the construction crews, everybody worked very hard in advance to make it as
Sure.
easy as possible, and it seems
Yep.
like that's.
Yep,
Yeah.
Yep. yeah, Terry,
What's the name of the construction company?
Iron Horse.
Iron Horse,
Iron
yes.
Iron Horse.
Okay, so if that should be heard on a video or something, then,
Yeah,
Yeah, Iron Horse, they're out of Eaton Rapids.
okay, good.
great. Well, thanks so much and look forward to some more updates, at our next council meeting and again,
I guess
Yes.
on the lift station,
yes.
how detrimental is that to be done right now? Do we have time to get another bid out? Like, does it need to happen today, or?
There's some things that we need to look at and figure out.
Okay,
There's some stuff that's rotting away, some
Okay.
steel that's rotting away.
Yeah.
So we gotta come up with some creative solutions probably.
okay.
Is this one of those lift stations where if it floods, do we get the flood water inlet with it?
Both, yeah, the Zimmer station does have a situation where water can get into it from the roadside. So we were trying to provide the best solution, and what we might need to do is delay the best solution and come up with some interim measures.
Scott, with the only company that bid on it, I know that we've had work done previously. Are there any other companies that we could go back to and see if they would be willing to bid on it, if they could fit it into their work schedule? Instead of waiting for somebody to come and bid on it, could we approach them and solicit them?
It's possible. The problem that we've had in the last few years is that the numbers of contractors that do certain types of work has actually decreased. And this is kind of a specialty type of work. There are not very many contractors that are willing to take this type of thing on.
Okay, all right. Well, keep us updated, and if something should happen where you need us before our next council meeting, obviously,
We kind of, it wasn't a complete surprise because we had done a lot of due diligence. In fact, we delayed this bid for work into next year because in the checking around that we had done with many communities in Michigan, southern Michigan, a lot of them have experienced similar situations like this. And so, yeah, we knew it was a possibility.
Sure. Okay.
To-
All right. Yeah,
To
go ahead,
toot
Dan.
Scott's horn a little bit for him, we've been very much anticipating this happening this summer. He actually set up a meeting with Mac Donnelly and I with Jubilee to make sure that the work on this lift station didn't interfere in what the timeline was for us moving everything out after Jubilee, and tried to make everything as convenient as possible with all that. And I think it was right around maybe right after Jubilee, he goes, Scott, is that timeline still the same? He goes, well, we're having some, so it's been kind of, he's been working on it for a long time, and I'm convinced that he and John are gonna get it done.
There's two lift stations. You're talking about the
Yep.
mechanic lift
And
station.
there's Zimmer and the mechanic, but they were both scheduled to be worked on this year.
All right. Well, again, we look forward to those future updates. Correspondence received, we do not have any, so we'll go right into department manager, department head reports with our city manager.
Just a couple of brief things. We had our first bargaining session with ASME last week, and that went really well. Not quite a tentative agreement, but very close. It's language at this point. It's not the fundamentals of the deal, so it should have something to council, hopefully by the 25th. I'm not sure when the union's scheduled to vote, but it'll be very soon. But as predicted, it went very, very smooth. And I will give you a confidential update memo on that later in the week. The park survey is still live. We've had great response. I'm not gonna tell everybody how much, because, we want everyone to participate. We want to try and blow through the number from last time, which was like a couple hundred. So got a couple more weeks while that's still live, and so you can find that on our website, or we got a QR code right out the front door. It'll take you right to the survey.
So the city website?
Yep, the city website. Yep, thank you. ZBA tomorrow, Parks Committee on Wednesday, DDA next week. So I'll be sleeping in my office for a couple days. It's before. So, and thanks again for having faith in Jeff. I know he's going to do a great job for us.
Sure.
So that's all I have. And happy birthday to the birthday people,
Yeah.
your wife, and
Yeah.
your Laura.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, moving along, we've got committee, subcommittee reports. Who has something like to share? Anyone? All right. Audience participation again with a maximum of 5 minutes per presentation. Anybody? All right. We'll go to council member comments. I'll start with Tom.
Not a whole lot, I guess just welcome back, Jeff. Glad to have you on board.
Thank you.
And good news from Scott on the project, so it's a good night.
Yeah, excellent. Terry.
I'm glad to see that public interaction is not just people coming in and saying, why aren't you doing it better? How come I'm not doing it the right way? But somebody saying, I think this is a good idea. This is my first time to hear that sort of thing, so. I think it's a very good thing. Thank you for this.
Stu.
The only thing I have to say is that I'm gonna move that we sing happy birthday to the birthday people, and I'll lead it.
Oh.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear. Happy birthday to you.
Oh my
I think it's a
goodness.
first, good job.
Yeah, thank you. All the September birthdays, thank you. Brandon.
I kind of went over most of mine, but welcome, Jeff. We're glad to have you. Other than that, I got nothing.
All right, Scott.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to work in our community and serve our community with so much positivity. Appreciate your efforts with Jeff, and welcome, Jeff. Thank you.
All right, Dan.
I want to welcome Jeff as well. I had the privilege of working with Jeff when he was on council a few years ago. He was our NISA rep and did a lot of good things when he was down there. He was a reserve officer here in Williamston many years ago, and you can look through his resume. But very happy that Jeff's our new police chief. It sounds like we had a very strong pool of candidates, and the best one rose to the top.
All right, Scott, I have a quick question for you. We are now officially into September. When do we switch over from branch pickup to leaf pickup? Because
Well-
it feels like fall's happening a lot earlier than what it usually
It's
is.
scheduled in October. We have to flush the water system first.
Okay.
That's scheduled for the last week of September.
All right, great, thanks, that's good information to have. Yes, I wanna say thank you to applying, Jeff, and several of us have been on council with Jeff. He is very familiar with our inner workings of our city. He understands our budget process. He comes with such an amazing resume. We are very, very lucky to have him. I'm sorry that Lennon will be losing him as a chief, but it's great that he has this opportunity to be chief of police here in Williamston, where he's spent almost his entire life, except for a brief little bit in Portland. So we're very, very lucky to have him, and I think he's got a great plan ahead for our department. I'm sad that Chief was not here this evening, but I know that transition will run smoothly. because Jeff does bring so much to the table, and there's definitely going to be a wealth of knowledge that Chief Young will share with our newly appointed Chief Weiss, so we're excited about that. Thank you all for singing on key, that was amazing. That was perfect. You guys should maybe, put together a little group. But we are running into fall, it's getting darker earlier. I feel like the weather is changing quicker than what it has normally. So just be aware and cognizant of our kids that are on the sidewalk and streets. Thank you so much for the community coming forward with positive feedback. Again, that's something we don't always hear in this chamber. So I would encourage that with anybody else that would like to come forward and share information. And especially somebody that lives out of our actual city limits. So Lina, you've served on city board before, so thank you so much for being here. I appreciate that. But with that, I think, I'd like to go ahead and draw this to a close at 7:30 and motion to close us out. Thank you all for the happy birthday. I have some cupcakes down here.